Hey everyone, welcome to another lesson in this course. Today we are going to talk more about the Python syntax. Now, although I have shown you some simple scripts which we have written in Python, and now we have set up Python in all different ways in different IDs, let's see how we can write Python scripts in a better way, right? So what are the best practices and how do you write Python scripts, right? So there are a couple of topics in this Python syntax, and first we'll start with the execution part, right? So we have seen both the ways of executing Python scripts, okay? So the first way is to directly write it in the command line in the Python IDE, where after the prompt you can directly write a statement and then it will give you the result, right? So as it is shown here, you can write this print statement and in the output it will show you the desired output, right? So that's one way of doing it. The other way of writing Python syntax is in a file, right? And that file would be have an extension of .py, which means a Python file, right? And then you can either run it from the command line or you can run it directly from your IDE, right? As we have seen in our last video, where we created a Python file in IntelliJ IDEA and we ran that file from the IDE. Right? So these are the two ways how you can write your Python scripts or your syntax, right? Now coming next is indentation, right? It's very important part of Python. Whenever you are writing any Python scripts, you need to take care of indentation, right? Now, when you compare Python with any other programming language like Java or any other language, right? Python is little different. Okay, so in Java, you will have braces which will identify your blocks of code, but Python doesn't have any kind of braces, right? So if you see, it's like writing plain English language, okay, or mathematical operations. But Python uses indentation, which is nothing but blank spaces to indicate a block of code, right? So for example, if you look here, I have written a if statement, right? And after that, the next statement has got some indentation, or you can say two tab spaces or two blank spaces, right? And after that, I have written this print statement. So what it means is this print statement belongs to this if statement. Okay, so that confirms that this is a block of code which is part of this particular if statement, right? Similarly, you have to put this indentation whenever you are trying to indicate that this is a block of code which belongs to a particular class, a function, or a if else statement, right? Or a while statement. Now, the number of spaces in the indentations are variable, so they are not fixed, but all statements within the block should have the same indentation. So what it means is if you're putting two indentations for a particular statement, you should make sure that all the other statements have also got two indentations, and you should not have different indentations for different lines of code. Okay. Now, the general practice while writing Python scripts is to put two indentations whenever you are trying to indicate a block of code, right? So that's the general practice, but you can obviously use any number of indentations, but do make sure that they are consistent. Now, the next topic is quotation in Python, right? So whenever you are working with string variables, okay, so there you have to put some quotation in every language, right? So in Java, it is double quotation, but in Python, you can either put a single, a double, or triple quotes for strings. Okay, so it will accept all these different kinds of quotes. Um, and you need to make sure that the same type of quote exists for the beginning and end of string. Okay, so don't make it different at the beginning and then different at the end. So these are two examples where I've shown you how to put quotations for different strings. You can either put single quotes, double quotes, or even triple quotes. Okay. Now the next and final thing here, which I want to highlight is the comments in Python. So how do you write a comment? Okay, so it starts with a hash sign in Python. And as an example, you can see we can, before writing a program, you can put a hash symbol there. and then you can start your comments, right? So after the hash symbol, Python takes it as a comment, right? So it doesn't execute that part of the code, okay, wherever it finds a hash symbol. So this is how you can take care of different things when you are writing your Python script, right? Now, also let's see in real time, how does it look like? Okay, how does indentation look like, or how does a comment look like in a Python script? Okay, so for that purpose, let's go back to our IntelliJ IDEA, where I have created another py file which is called Python syntax. And here I'm going to show you how you can write comments, right? So you can put a hash symbol, and then I will say program to show indentation in Python, right? So this is a comment, a non-executable line of code, okay? And then here I will say if, okay, and I will say 10 is greater than 9, right? I will give a colon, and once I press enter, you will see the ID itself recognizes that it's an if statement, and it gives two indentations or some space here, right? So that it can identify this block of code. Okay, so here I will say print, and I will say 10 is larger than 9, right? A simple if statement. Now, whenever you start writing scripts, the lines of code will contain all these indentations wherever required, right? Now, if I run this, it's going to run fine. 10 is larger than 9, right? Now, let's look at the other side of it. What if I don't give any indentation, right? So if I remove these blank spaces here in this script, you will see there is automatically the ID will recognize this, okay, and it will show you an error, right? So what's the error? It will say indent expected at line number 3, right? So the ID is itself telling you that it requires an indentation whenever you are writing an if statement, okay? So that's why just do take care of indentation, and while you are writing comments, right, or you are using quotation, or how you are executing your Python syntax, right? So these are all the different things which you need to take care in terms of Python syntax. Next, we'll look at some of the Python variables, and then we'll look at all the different concepts which are present in the Python programming language.